Hi everybody, Josie here with Ozark Mountain Goats. Jim and I are doing catch up this week. We had our granddaughters here for several days with us, and now we are just trying to catch up with the work that needs done in the garden. We went out yesterday and harvested several things, and one of the things that I wanted to get done today was dehydrating some apples. Now I actually purchased these apples at the store. I found a good deal. And our apples aren't ready yet, so I'm going to go ahead and dehydrate the ones that I bought at the grocery store. Anyway, when you're dehydrating apples, the first thing you need to do is remove the core. I've already done a few of them here. This little gadget is really easy and makes quick work of it. Just pop that off of there, and as you can see, it makes a nice clean cut. Once I get these done, then I'm going to go ahead and slice them up and put them on our dehydrator. So I'll do that and then be right back. That made really quick work of getting the cores out of those apples. So now I'm just going to slice them up, and I use this mandolin here. Also, there are a lot of dehydrators out there, some much stronger and nicer than what we've got, but no more dehydrating than I do. I'm not quite ready to invest in something more expensive. Besides, we've had this thing for probably 30 years and it's still working, so that's what we're using. Anyway, just slice up your apples. If you're using a mandolin, be careful. You take your fingertips or knuckles right off. And I like to put cinnamon on mine. So once I get them sliced, I go ahead and put them on the tray. And this will hold quite a few. And then I just sprinkle them with cinnamon. You don't have to use cinnamon. You can just leave them plain, or put any other flavoring on them that you like. But I think these are pretty tasty. So I'm going to get these sliced up, and then we'll get them cooking. Okay, that literally took me probably less than 15 minutes. I've got 8 trays here, and I had 5 pounds of apples, which were actually 15 apples. And I have about 1.5 left and no more trays, so we'll just eat that one raw. But I'm going to get these started, and these will probably dehydrate for maybe 12 hours or so. You just got to check them until they're the consistency that you like. So now it's on to my next project. So one of the things we harvested yesterday was these tomatoes here. They're not the best tomatoes I've ever seen, but I still don't want them to go to waste, and we can't eat this many. Normally I would go ahead and can them up for tomato juice, but there's not enough to make it really worth my while. So I'm going to freeze them. And that's a relatively easy process. And since they're going to turn to mush and the skins are going to come off anyway, there's no harm in that. So what you need to do is just core them and make a little X at the bottom so that the skin can loosen up, and when they thaw out, the skin will slip right off. I wanted to mention that this has been a very difficult tomato season. Normally we would have had well over 100 quarts of tomato juice, probably more like maybe 125 or more by the middle of August. We are at 43, I think, quarts this year, which is significantly less. We had an extremely wet spring, and it was hard to keep the plants healthy. They did end up getting disease, and so I have really diligently kept them trimmed up and the disease cut off, and I've babied them for weeks and weeks and weeks now. So they're actually holding their own for this late in the season. Also, we had a really hot spell, and you know, tomatoes won't set blooms like they're supposed to when it's, you know, 100 degrees. So it cooled off, and we've got a lot more blooms coming on. So hopefully we are going to continue to get tomatoes for quite a while. Anyway, I'm going to get started on these, and then we'll get on to my next project. So all you need to do is just remove the core and anything else that you don't want. Now these tomatoes actually have some splits in them. We did get some rain the other day, and so they really soaked up the water and were starting to split. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to get them harvested. And then just make a little X in the bottom, and that's ready for the freezer. Pretty simple process. Now these are just going to go on a cookie sheet and into the freezer, and once they set up some, I'm going to go ahead and bag them up until I'm ready to use them. Okay, into the freezer these go, and then next project I think we will go ahead and process some peas. My tomatoes are frozen, so I'm going to go ahead and bag them up, and I've decided to use my food saver, and I'm going to put as many as I can into this bag, and then we'll go from there. I think this is enough for this first bag. Pretty cool, huh? I love my food saver. So I'll get the rest of these bagged up, and then they're back into the freezer. So again, this is a great way of preserving your tomatoes if you're not ready to process them, or maybe you don't have enough to mess with. So these will go in the freezer, and the next time we make tomato juice, these will be added in. All right, next project is preparing peas so that we can freeze them. We have a good neighbor down the road that has a homestead also in Mississippi, and they brought us back 10 pounds of shelled and cleaned peas. So now we just need to blanch them so that we can get them in the freezer. I've got water behind me that's heating up, and once that water comes to a good rolling boil, we'll begin to blanch our peas. Okay, my water has come to a rolling boil, so I'm going to go ahead and add some peas. And I think I'm going to do it in batches because I want to try to keep the temperature up. Plus, I'm not sure how much each cookie sheet will hold, and I've only got so much room in my freezer. So anyway, here we go. That was maybe a third of the 10 pounds. Again, I'm just going to bring that water up to a boil again and blanch them for a minute and a half before I put them into ice water. Okay, time's up, so into the ice water they go. Now I'm just taking them out of their ice water bath, and I will let them drain, and then we will get them patted dry. That's a pile of peas. I'm just going to spread them out a little bit. I want to try to get as much of this water off as I can. That way when they freeze up, they won't be all clumped together. They'll freeze more individually. So I'm just going to take some paper towels and blot them dry as best I can, and then I will place them on our cookie sheet. Probably a good thing I didn't do any more than this, because this is going to take all the cookie sheets I've got. Try to just get them in an even layer so that they can freeze individually and not in big clusters. Then when you go to bag them up, they'll bag real nicely. Okay, there's one. Well, I've got 4 trays here. I'm not sure exactly how much this will weigh. I'm guessing at least 3 pounds. I won't really know until they're frozen and I can get them bagged up. But I'm going to get these in the freezer, and since I'm running out of cookie sheets, I think I will wait and do the rest of them tomorrow. But that gives you an idea of what you need to do if you want to process and preserve peas. My peas have frozen, so I'm going to go ahead and bag them up. I think for Jim and I, since it's just the two of us, we're going to do 1.5 cups. And that should be plenty as a side dish for us. So just depending on the size of your family, you know, how much you want to do. And I went ahead and marked my cup here at a 1.5 cup level. So I'll just measure them out and dump it right on in the baggie. A little bit more. Yeah, that looks good. Super simple. Try to get the air out. Again, I like to bag things up flat so that they stack nicely. And you could always use a vacuum sealer too if you like. There we go. One down. So I ended up with 7 bags of peas. That should come in real handy as a side dish for Jim and I. We still have the rest of that big bag to do. I think probably at least another maybe 6 pounds. So this is going to last us a long time, but hey, they were free, so you can't beat that. Okay, one last quick project. What to do with all this zucchini? Well, we like zucchini bread, so for us, it's easy just to shred it up and freeze it. And then when you need it, thaw it out and it's ready to go. So that's what I'm going to do. With zucchini, you don't have to peel it, so I just cut the ends off and start shredding. Now the recipes that I use call for 2 cups of zucchini, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and shred up and package. See what we got here. Pretty good pile. Then it's just a matter of measuring it out and putting it in your storage bags. I went ahead and labeled these so I'll know that there's 2 cups of zucchini in here. And when I pack it in here, I pack it pretty firmly. That's the way that my recipes call for, so I want to make sure that I've got enough. There's one. And there's 2. As you can see, that's totally simple. Just get as much of the air out as you can. And I like to lay my bags flat so that they'll take up less space. You can stack them on top of each other. I do that even with hamburger. Anything that I'm going to be freezing that I can lay flat in a bag. And really, that's all there is to it. I had 3 large zucchini and 2 small zucchini, and I ended up with 8 bags of shredded zucchini, each bag holding 2 cups. The larger zucchini had some big seeds in them, so I did have to take a spoon and scrape that out. But the rest of the flesh was still good, so I went ahead and used it. So if you've got zucchini on hand and lots of it, I would recommend doing this. It'll come in handy this winter when I want to make some of that chocolate chip zucchini bread, and the grandkids will really love that. So that wraps it up for our 4 quick and easy garden produce projects. My dehydrated apple chips aren't quite ready yet, but everything else is tucked away in the freezer until I'm ready to pull them out and use them. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, please like us and subscribe, and we will catch you later.